What happens when the image you've built for years suddenly starts falling apart in front of millions? That's exactly what's happening with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, and the internet can't stop talking about it. For a long time, many people viewed her as a trusted voice. She spoke confidently about relationships, self-respect, accountability, and personal growth. She appeared knowledgeable, composed, and certain of everything she said. But lately, that carefully crafted image has started to crack, and what people are seeing underneath is raising serious questions. The biggest issue isn't even the controversy itself. It's the contrast between who she presented herself to be and who she's showing herself to be now. When criticism started pouring in, many expected a calm and professional response. Instead, what they saw was anger, arrogance, and hostility. Rather than addressing concerns directly, she became increasingly defensive. She dismissed critics, used aggressive language, and made it clear she didn't care what people thought. And that's where many observers became suspicious. If someone truly has the credentials, experience.
Luckily, I had, I do this with all of the schools. I had downloaded from the actual student portal my transcripts at that time. And I was able to get just about all of my transcripts, including up to like dissertation. But everything else, there's just no holding take for any of our records, which I think is completely effed up. Just in general.
They are going to kill you online this week. They're going to say she has no records. They just want to hate you regardless.
No, that's fine. And it's not even that there's no records. That I don't. The school had a third party that carried the records only for a limit of 2 years. So it's not me, it's any student that attended Argosy. But again, it doesn't affect me, because if I chose to go get a license as an LMFT, I have my master's in marriage and child therapist, I have my hours. I can just take that and say, hey, let me submit these for licensure, and I want to go sit for my exam, and all I have to do is study. I don't need a doctorate in counseling psychology to go get licensed as a therapist. That's what we're all missing.
And authority they claim to possess. Why react with so much hostility? Why become so emotionally charged when simple questions are being asked? For many people, that reaction became the first major red flag. Then came another moment that left audiences stunned. While discussing relationships, she made comments suggesting that a mistress or side chick holds more power than a wife. She doubled down on the statement and defended it passionately. But to many listeners, that idea completely contradicted everything she had previously preached. After all, how can someone advocate for commitment, respect, and accountability while simultaneously elevating a person who exists outside of a committed relationship? The contradiction was impossible to ignore. People began revisiting her older content, comparing her past messages with her current statements. The more they looked, the more inconsistencies they found. This is why many believe the current backlash didn't begin with one interview or one controversial statement. Instead, it appears to be the result of years of conflicting messages finally catching up with her. On one hand, she often spoke about women valuing themselves, setting standards, and refusing to compromise their dignity. She encouraged women not to rush into intimacy and emphasized the importance of being pursued and respected. On the other hand, some of her later comments seemed to undermine those very principles. That disconnect created confusion. Adding to the controversy was the way she frequently incorporated faith into her advice. She often referenced God, spirituality, and biblical principles while discussing relationships and personal responsibility. Yet critics noticed something troubling. In moments where accountability was demanded of her, the tone suddenly changed. 1 minute she would speak about answering only to God, and the next she would lash out at critics with profanity and frustration. To many viewers, that shift felt less like confidence and more like inconsistency. And inconsistency is where trust begins to disappear. The situation exploded even further after revelations surrounding her professional credentials became public. During a podcast appearance, discussion surfaced regarding her licensing status. What shocked many people was that she openly acknowledged she was not a licensed therapist. According to her explanation, she never claimed to be one. Instead, she described herself as a psychology expert and life coach. But for countless followers, that distinction came as a surprise. Many had assumed she was operating with the qualifications typically associated with therapy and professional mental health practice. When they learned otherwise, questions immediately followed. Had audiences misunderstood her? Or had they been led to believe something that wasn't entirely clear from the beginning? That question fueled an online firestorm. Supporters argued that she had every right to coach and educate people without holding a therapy license. Critics argued that the presentation of her expertise created a different impression altogether. Suddenly, debates erupted across social media platforms, podcasts, and comment sections everywhere. But beneath all the arguments lies a deeper issue. This controversy isn't only about credentials. It's about credibility. People can forgive mistakes. They can forgive misunderstandings. What they struggle to forgive is feeling misled. The reason this story continues gaining attention is because many viewers believe they're witnessing something bigger. That's exactly why so many people are paying attention to what's happening now. For years, Cheyenne Bryant positioned herself as an advocate for self-respect, discipline, and high standards in relationships. Her message was clear. Women should know their worth, avoid transactional relationships, and refuse to settle for less than they deserve. It sounded empowering. But critics argue that some of her actions and public statements have painted a very different picture. As more clips resurfaced online, viewers started connecting dots they had previously ignored. Moments that once seemed insignificant suddenly looked much different when viewed through the lens of the current controversy. One incident in particular grabbed attention. Many people were surprised when photos and videos circulated showing her attending an event in an outfit that seemed completely different from the image she had spent years presenting to the public. To some observers, it wasn't about the clothing itself. It was about the contrast. The person they thought they knew appeared very different from the person standing in front of them. And that's when skepticism started growing. People began wondering whether the public persona had always been genuine or whether they had been watching a carefully managed version of reality. The questions kept coming. Then there were the relationship comments. Many viewers still point to her remarks about wives and side chicks as one of the biggest turning points. For some, those statements revealed a mindset that didn't align with the values she had spent years teaching. Once that door opened, people started re-examining everything. Every interview, every podcast appearance, every viral clip, and the deeper they looked, the more contradictions they believed they found. But the controversy didn't stop there. Another discussion that resurfaced involved relationship boundaries and self-control. During a podcast conversation, she suggested that unmarried couples could place themselves in highly tempting situations as a way of proving discipline and restraint. That statement immediately sparked debate. Critics argued that encouraging people to intentionally test themselves in situations that naturally create temptation sends the wrong message. Supporters viewed it as a conversation about self-control. Either way, the clip generated strong reactions. And once again, people noticed what they believed was a recurring theme: mixed messages. On one side, there were teachings about morality, discipline, and accountability. On the other side, there were statements that appeared to challenge those same principles. For many viewers, this wasn't about a single opinion. It was about consistency, because consistency is what builds trust. And when consistency disappears, trust often follows. That's why the current backlash feels larger than a debate over credentials, relationships, or podcast appearances. To many observers, this is the story of a public figure whose message and actions no longer seem aligned. The issue isn't that she occasionally says something controversial. Public figures do that all the time. The issue is that people are beginning to question whether the values being preached are actually being practiced. And once an audience starts asking that question, the narrative changes completely. What was once viewed as wisdom starts being viewed as performance. What was once viewed as authenticity starts being viewed as branding. And what was once accepted without question suddenly faces intense scrutiny. That is why this situation continues to gain momentum. Every new interview, every old clip, and every resurfaced statement adds another layer to the conversation. Some supporters still believe she is being unfairly attacked. Others believe the public is finally seeing what was hidden in plain sight all along. But regardless of which side people choose, one thing has become impossible to ignore. The controversy is no longer about a single comment or a single interview. It's about credibility. It's about trust. And most importantly, it's about whether the person delivering the message truly lives by the principles they expect everyone else to follow. Because when words and actions begin moving in opposite directions, eventually the truth catches up. And according to many watching this unfold, that moment may be happening right now. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. Remember to like, subscribe, and hype up the video for more. Thanks for watching.